Welcome to another fun-filled Friday edition of Second City Sports, real live and in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brownhead, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow Lakina McGee on the Twitter, X, and Lakina's going to be on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, too, you can catch up on our other live shows that we have airing throughout the week. So if you happen to miss them, you can go back and watch them and listen to them at your own leisure. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, you can follow us on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Sports Zone Chicago. Please find Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. And while you're at it, please subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, to complete the trifecta, please subscribe to War Media at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, that's at War Media at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza, what we call a sports talk radio show, you can always go to the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. The best ones will be shown on the screen, courtesy of my good buddy Lakina. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly or stupid, I'm giving Lakina full power to give you fools to Bill and be about. But before we begin, we must remind you, you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on that sports folder and download the Roku TV. Oh, download the Sports Zone Chicago app, rather. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, your iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, like I'm using right now, your personal PC, like Lakina's using right now, just hit up that Google Play Store and download that Roku TV app and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
Yes, we will provide. Oh boy, we will provide all of it for you. We got a lot to do here on Second City Sports. Of course, we'll talk, Bears NFL preview week 2 of the preseason. Then we've got, of course, baseball. Cubs got right there. The game back of the Brewers now. And also to the Sox, they go to the Mile High City and the rest of this week in baseball. Of course, any NBA schedule was released yesterday. We'll see. The Bulls might have a shot to do some pretty good things this year. Also to the rest of the TV stuff as well. Also, of course, we got sports media news and all that stuff. So, but first we're going to go to the gridiron and talk some baseball. Sid.
He's a gridiron in baseball. I didn't know they played 2 different sports on 2 different fields.
Well, great. Well, yeah, I was like, great. Well, great. Let's go to the gridiron first. I'm thinking, I got the Cubs on the brain right now because they're facing the Royals in about an hour. But let's go to the gridiron and talk some football as the Bears are, and the Colts, they're in Indianapolis. How about the Bears are? They're doing the joint practices thing and dual practice, however you want to say it. And of course, they're going to be facing each other tomorrow. We'll talk about the Bears and the Colts. Then, it's already come out that Justin Fields and most of the starters will not play tomorrow. So what do you think? I know some people said that, maybe they should play maybe just one series, or this is like the second preseason game where you want to play most of your starters for at least a quarter and a half, however you want to say it. So what do you think about this? I'm seeing there seems to be a lot of, division on what to do, what should be done. But what do you think?
According to great actor John Amos, a.k.a. James Evans Sr. from the TV show Good Times, damn. Here's why. Lakina, you built some momentum last week with the great performance from all the starters and all the backups against Buffalo in that victory last week in the preseason opener. And I figure that Bears head coach Matt Eberflus wanted to keep up with that momentum, especially now with the preseason being three games instead of 4. Most teams are using the second preseason game to get their starters ready for the regular season. And you would figure that Matt Eberflus would do the same thing, right? Wrong. Lakina, didn't this Bears team go 3-14 last year?
Yep.
Who won the Super Bowl? Kansas City, right?
Yep.
I understand if Andy Reid wants to do this, not play your starters in the second preseason game, okay. I get that. They earned it. This Bears team hasn't earned shit. I know that things are going well for them at practice. I know that things are on the horizon, hopefully, for the Bears, but these are baby steps you had to take to be successful, Lakina. And this Bears team hasn't earned nothing yet. And I get it that you wanted to see limited action last week, and you got that. But in order for things to work, Lakina, don't you have to practice like we do here every day, get reps, get better?
Yep.
Your starters sitting out the second preseason game, it's not going to help. I'm sorry. It's just not going to help. We need to see Justin Fields more comfortable in this offense against other people. It's only so much you can do in practice against the same players, your teammates every day, but you got to test this out against other opponents, and seeing limited action is just not going to help.
It's one of those things where it's sort of like twofold. I mean, you hear that the Bills starters, they're going to be playing, I think, like most of the first half tomorrow in their game. You saw some other teams saying the same thing. You saw what happened in Philadelphia last night. I mean, I think Jalen Hurts and the rest of that squad, they only they played a little bit, maybe like half the first quarter or something, or maybe like go to most of the first quarter. I mean, it's one of those things where you're just like, it could be twofold. I mean, the last thing you want is for, especially Fields, to be rusty when you start that game in a few weeks against the Packers. But at the same time, though, like you said, you want the practice, you want the reps. I mean, you can only practice against each other for so long. I know there was a couple of scuffles that happened during the Colts practices, with them. But it's just like, I guess, I know some people want to defend this to just say, well, they want to protect Fields, for getting hurt or whatever. And I get that, but again. Well, yeah, that's the thing. Of course, you can get hurt, at practice. We've seen it that happen. So, it's just sort of like kind of silly how they're going to do this. I mean, look, if it turns out that Fields has a great year and he didn't play most of the preseason, hey, great, that's terrific. But if he looks rusty or he doesn't look good, coming out the gate, if the O-line doesn't look good coming out the gate, and the defense doesn't look good coming out the gate, I mean, that's what preseason is for, to have the practices. So I don't know. I don't agree with this decision either. So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess, but we'll see.
But a couple other things that I'm looking forward to tomorrow night's preseason game for the Chicago Bears is that defense, in particular, Travis Gibson, who's playing for his NFL life right now. We saw what he did last week with those 2 sacks against Buffalo. We'll see what he does against the Indianapolis Colts, assuming that rookie quarterback Anthony Richardson starts and plays for the Colts. We know that Jonathan Taylor, their star running back, will not play. But assuming that Anthony Richardson plays tomorrow night, we'll see what Travis Gibson can do. And if Tariq Stevenson, that rookie corner, that second-round draft pick from Miami, he had a great game last week, in my opinion. Let's say if he plays tomorrow night, I want to see him, how he responds in his second game, even though it's preseason action. I want to see mostly what that Bears defense does, because they did their thing, as I mentioned, from the first starters to the backups. Let's see if they can keep up that momentum facing a rookie quarterback at least for a quarter, maybe a half tomorrow night. I want to see what they can do offensively. Is it really a backup quarterback battle between P.J. Walker and Nathan Peterman? P.J. Walker didn't look good last week. We'll see what he does tomorrow. But Nathan Peterman, I think his NFL career is on the line too. So we'll see how the backup quarterback spot shapes up. But I want to see what this defense does, because it looks like right now it's the strength of that team, at least from last week. But that offense, I would love to have seen the starters in there for at least a quarter and a half. But I think this sets the offense back at least a week or two for them not playing tomorrow.
It's one of those things where, like I said, I mean, if they look good, you'll come out the gate against the Packers in a few weeks. I mean, this will all be moot. But if not, then we'll I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about it then. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing. I want to see Dante Foreman. How is he going to look? Being that back end of that backfield, and then you have. See, on the defense side, of course, Gibson. You talked about him. I'm sure Negoli. I'm sure we'll probably Negoli. I'm sure we'll probably see him a little bit. You got to get him some reps as well. I think Nate Davis, we finally saw him at practice. That was a little bit weird. We didn't see him, most of the start of training camp. But now, now we're kind of seeing that we see him the last couple of days at practice, so we'll see how he looks. I mean, look, again, it's one of those days where you're kind of like, I might check it out, but then, okay, I don't know what Eberflus's mindset is, doing this, but I guess we'll have to wait and see in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, one more note before we move on to the Cleveland-Philadelphia contest, quote-unquote contest for last night. Velus Jones, Lakina, if he does see some action tomorrow night, which I assume he does, do you put him at punt returns again, or do you put him in some special four wide receiver sets to give him some extra reps to prove himself and to his teammates that he deserves to make the team?
I think you have to put him back there and to see if he can at punt return. See if if he still has the yips, he still has some issues, and you can take him out. But after that, we'll see. If not, then you can kind of give him that special team for that. This second season Sports on Sports Show Chicago. Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown with you. Recapping the Browns-Eagles game from yesterday. If you look at it that way, Hurts didn't play. I know most of the stars for the Eagles didn't play. So but Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the rookie from UCLA, continues to dazzle. 164 yards. No touchdowns, but I think he rushed for 18 yards. So he actually looked good. So I'm sure he's probably going to be battling for number 2 spot, of course, behind Deshaun Watson. The Eagles, like I said, Tanner McKee, had the start, threw a touchdown pass. Trey Sermon had a rushing touchdown. So it was like, okay, if you like ties, but it is what it is. But yeah, it was just hilarious how that game was played yesterday.
Yeah, that Dorian Robinson-Thompson kid, I hope I say his name right, a brother with 3 names. But as I said, Lakina, I'm not putting him in the Hall of Fame just yet. I'm not going to give him a gold jacket yet, but I think he could be Cleveland's version of Cordell Stewart. I think he will win that number 2 job. He looked very good again last night. He's very athletic, and he can definitely get the ball down the field. Of course, he can scramble out of trouble. With the time, I think he'll get better. On the flip side for Philadelphia, I don't think that Jalen Carter played last night, but I know he's been wrecking shop in camp so far, and I think he's going to be a good one for the Philadelphia Eagles. Of course, the first-round draft pick, the defensive end out of Georgia. I know many Bears fans wanted the Bears to draft him, but because of what happened off the field, that wasn't going to go down like that. And we won't get into the off-the-field stuff. But I think Philadelphia, they're going to be fine. Like I said, this Cleveland, they have a chance to surprise some people this year. Like you said, Deshaun Watson didn't play last night. Probably won't play at all in the preseason. That team needs a little bit more work. I'm talking about Cleveland because remember, Deshaun Watson barely played in a handful of games last year due to that suspension around this time last year. And can Cleveland surprise some people? Maybe, but they still have a long way to go. On the flip side of Philadelphia, it's just getting ready for the regular season and looking at some of the backups that could be contributors to the team for this upcoming 2023 season.
But just to see if Philly. I know it's look, but Philly actually wants it. They got to the Super Bowl last year. The Bears have done nothing. So the fact that Hurts and the others didn't play, I think you want to rest them for the season. So
see, that makes sense for them, but doesn't make sense for Chicago.
Yeah, it totally makes sense for them, but what do we know, right, Sid? But going through the schedule for tonight and Friday and to Saturday, we're going to be listening to this. Carolina, New York, that'll be on NFL Network at 6. And you got Cincinnati and Atlanta at 6:30. So you probably won't see a lot of the starters for either one of these games. So, it is what it is with that. Now going into tomorrow's today's contest, we're going to be listening to this tomorrow on Warren Media. You got Jacksonville and Detroit. That's going to be another NFL Network game. And you got Miami and Houston at 3:00. That'll be another NFL Network triple header there. And of course, that Bears Colts game will be on NFL Network. Assuming it's not blacked out here in Chicago. And then you got Buffalo and Pittsburgh. You probably won't see a lot of the top guys from Buffalo play or Pittsburgh either. Tampa Bay and the Jets at 6:30. Of course, you got the Patriots and the Packers. And you got the Titans and the Vikings at 7:00.
Yeah, running out that Saturday night schedule, the Broncos will face the 49ers at 7:30. The Las Vegas Raiders will travel to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. That's at 8:00 Chicago time. And running out that Saturday night triple header on NFL Network will be the Cowboys and the Seahawks. And, of course, the long game on Sunday will have the San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles hosting the New Orleans Saints.
You almost caught you.
That's at 6:05.
Yeah, so I almost caught yourself there. So that's your schedule for this weekend for week 2 of the preseason. We're going to take a really quick break. Of course, we're going to go to the Diamond next. Of course, the Cubs split their series with the Sox, including a great home run that might have changed a lot of things. They gear up for a big series against Kansas City. Some other things, and the Yankees will be doing something that they have not done yet in like about 30 years almost, or over almost 30 years. So we'll tell you about that. Also, too, and a whole lot more still. Diamond Talk coming up next. Akina McGee, Sydney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. Like I said, Diamond Talk coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports. We're live and living on this Friday edition right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X and Keenan again, the IG.
We have 85 minutes left in this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk radio show. If you want to make a comment or have a question for us, you can always go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid. We've got busy week in baseball for first for our Chicago teams, the Chicago Cubs and the White Sox. I mean, they both split their finishing up their season series. The Sox got the best of the Cubs on Tuesday, but on Wednesday the Cubs fought back from being down. Of course, you got Nick Madrigal, hitting that solo home. Well, actually, you know what? Fulmer getting out of that bases loaded jam. Michael Fulmer did that. That kind of started that. Then Madrigal hit that that solo shot, and then of course Christopher Morel. I wish we had that clip on there because I've watched the clip about a dozen times. Hitting that three run shot to as he was sprinting down the bases, ripped off his shirt. That was kind of weird, but it was a big win for the Cubs on the list because we'll talk about that in the standings coming up. But yeah. I mean, I think that was a win that the Cubs really need. And I think I'm not going to say it kind of, sort of was a season changer for them, but I think it definitely kind of helped them in that front.
Yeah, the first game of that series last Tuesday, they had a chance to win, and Kyle Hendricks actually pitched well, but they couldn't get enough key hits to help him out. Aside from the bullpen, who's replacing Marcus Stroman in the rotation, of course, Marcus Stroman is going to be out a little bit longer due to a rib injury. But Asad pitched well the other night on Wednesday with the 4 strikeouts, and of course, they were greatly helped out by their bullpen, as you mentioned. A nice moment for Christopher Morel, but here's the thing, Lakina. Many Cubs fans I know I saw it all over Twitter these last 24, 48 hours. Oh, this should propel us to something special, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it can, because as we talked about on our last show on Monday, they are in the softest part of their schedule. You split with the White Sox. You have 3 against Kansas City starting later today. And, of course, you play Pittsburgh on the road next week, and then you face the Milwaukee Brewers at the end of the month before going into September. So this, even though many Cub fans are pipe dreaming that this could be something special, it could also go the other way as well, because we talked about before, Lakina, and we're right in the middle of the dog days of August. Well, while the Cubs can make some headway between them and the rest of the division, things can potentially go south as well.
I think
because these teams that are not in the playoff race, they're playing for something, and they can do just as much as damage as a good team can do to keep their plays a clinch into going towards the clinch of the playoff spot.
Well, I think if you're the Cubs, you don't want to go far ahead. I mean, you don't want to, and I think that's probably what happened with that first game, that Sox series. I think they kind of, you thought, no, of course, now, of course, Moncada wants to learn how to catch. Now, of course, they want to start hitting. Of course, Robert had, the shushing sound with the crowd before hitting that go-ahead 2-run shot that helped the Sox, win that game. But, I think the key is just to take it one game at a time. You can't scoreboard watch. Of course, you can't help what the Brewers and the Reds are going to do. You're in the softest part. You got the Royals, and you got the Tigers, and you got the Pittsburgh, which actually played well against Pittsburgh this year. So, try to get at least win 2 out of 3. Win 2 out of 3 against Kansas City. Win 2 out of 3 against the Royals. Win 3 out of 4 against Pittsburgh. You probably will depend on how. We'll talk about the Brewers' schedule coming up, but we'll talk about that. But I feel like just take it one game at a time, and look, don't get wrapped up in it. Don't get caught looking ahead to that Brewers series coming up in a couple of weeks. I think it's just to take it one series at a time.
As I said before, this Cubs team each member of that club has to pull their own weight, as I mentioned, due to the injury for Marcus Stroman. Right now, he's MIA from that starting rotation. James Italian, who's going to start later today, he had a bad last start. Let's see if he can rebound against a lesser opponent today in Kansas City. Of course, Kyle Hendricks, he's pitching well since the All-Star break. Also, Justin Steele, their All-Star left-hander, he's going to have to pick it up as well. And offensively, still continuing to roll. Cody Bellinger has the highest OPS against left-hand starters this year at a 986 clip. He's hitting the ball very well right now. He's hitting 400 over the last 2 months. Ian Happ, he's going to have to pick it up. Nico Horner looks like he's starting to pick it up with his bat. Dansby Swanson has picked it up with his bat so far. It's to say, Suzuki, we need to hear from you. So this Cubs offense looks like they seem to pick it up, but we'll see what they can do against Kansas City this weekend. They should take care of them. I'm going to put the pressure on them. They need to sweep this series. Like you said, 2 out of 3 should be the minimum, but they need to sweep the Royals to gain some confidence. And like you said, not look too far ahead to next week's schedule.
I mean, Talion, that was his first bad start in the last 5 or 6 starts. He actually had 5 or 6 good starts before that. So you're allowed to have a bad start. So I'm not gonna go ham up on him on that. But if he has a bad one today, then we'll talk about something. But like I said, just don't get caught looking ahead and whatnot, and we'll see what happens there. Now going as far as the Sox go, I mean, yeah, you want to play spoiler. I mean, okay, yippee. Sox fans would have been, that would have been great if the Sox had, swept that Cubs, second half of that Cup series. That would have just evened the series, but whatever. But yeah, they're going to be playing the Rockies, at Coors, starting tonight. It'll be interesting to see how the bats, go, because they usually don't play at Coors Field very often. We'll talk about the White Sox, so we'll see if we'll see if Robert can hit a couple of big shots and whatnot. I know Kopech really needs this to kind of like for his confidence, so that should be maybe first like maybe 10 or 12 runs might win it. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with that Sox series. Like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on the Sox because they're not, sorry, but I mean, you should be able to at least win this series against the Rockies. But you never know with this team, so we'll see.
That's
what
true.
Happens.
That's true.
With that. Now, do you want to say about the Sox before we move on?
Yeah, you mentioned about Yohan Moncada. He's starting to hit the bat at the White Sox management, whoever that is, whether it's the current regime or a new regime. Yohan Moncada must continue to do this because he can up his trade value in the offseason. Just saying, most smart people and better organizations will look at it that way. I don't know if the Sox will look at it that way, but I'm just putting it out there. Yohan Moncada, continue to do what you do because you're upping up your trade value this offseason. Now, Mike Clevenger, he may up his value a little bit, even though he's a free agent at the end of the year. He pitched a great game on Wednesday, just the Sox couldn't hold that lead thanks to Gregory Santos. But and plus Tim Anderson is serving that used to be 6-game suspension. Now it's 5 games. He got to reduce by 1 yesterday by MLB. And of course, Anderson released that little apology via social media. You guys will check it out for yourselves. We won't read it here, but they're gonna have to do this without Tim Anderson. He's eligible to return on Wednesday when the Sox come back home to take on Seattle. But as far as this weekend series is concerned, Lakina, outside of Luis Robert Jr. and possibly Yohan Moncada, who else is going to hit? Because we know that Coors Field atmosphere is high altitude, and you can get a lot of home runs out of that ballpark. With the way the Sox team is built, they should hit some home runs this weekend. So let's see who can step up offensively.
I mean, like I said, it could be like first like 10 or 20. So 10 to 15. So 10 or 12 or something like that. So yeah, I could kind of see that being the case with them. So it'll be just see how this team responds. I mean, we saw all the weird stuff that happened. Like I said, I don't know why we're spending all this time talking with the Sox, because I kind of feel like at this point, like who cares? Just get the season.
And just a quick note: Dylan Cease will pitch on Sunday.
Okay, so we got that.
That's it for the Sox.
Yes, as was Second City Sports on Chicago, Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown with you. The Dodgers, as we talk about the rest of Major League Baseball, the Dodgers are now probably the hottest team in baseball. They've won 11 in a row. They swept the Brewers. Thank you, Dodgers. But like I said, they're kind of putting a little bit of distance between themselves and the Giants. They're 10.5 back now. And I know, like I said, I'm sure they don't want to look too far ahead because they got a tough matchup coming up at home this weekend. But you listen to, to see that, the pitch has been really solid. Lance Lynn looked really good. He looked really good yesterday. The Dodgers actually now are 15-1 in August. They love playing in August, obviously. They have nearly 80%. They've won 80% of their games in August in the last 4 seasons. They're 79-20 as we're recording this. So, just amazing how this team is starting to kind of gel a little bit. And we're starting to finally see that everything, all the new acquisitions and all the trades, they're all starting to kind of mesh now.
Also, too, you take a look at that starting rotation with Tony Gonsolin, and you need a healthy Clayton Kershaw to make this thing go. If you're manager Dave Robinson in Los Angeles Dodgers, we talked about coming to the season, Lakina, as you mentioned, with all the new parts. Dave Robinson was really going to have to manage this team at his best. So far, he's done that. You talk about Mookie Betts, you talk about Freddie Freeman. If it wasn't for the 2 guys in Atlanta with Robert Acuna Jr. and Matt Olson, Freeman would be your front runner for NL MVP right now. But you're talking about James Outman and former Cub Jason Hayward. Even though the stats doesn't jump out to you on the stat sheet, he's really made an impact in that line this year. And don't forget, they brought back Kike Hernandez to have depth up the middle. So this Dodgers team, as we talked about, we knew they were going to be good, but we all knew at the same time, at least at the beginning of the season, they weren't going to be as good as that 111-win team last year. They got bounced out by San Diego in the divisional round last year. So I think they're going to win this NL West division comfortably. We'll get to the other teams in a minute. But like you said, the the Dodgers are playing hot right now. They love playing the month of August. And if you're a Dodgers fan, you just hope that they're playing so well right now. You hope they don't get too comfortable and when they clinch the division, get lazy and not ramp it up again just in time for the playoffs.
I don't see them doing that. I mean, look, a lot of those guys have World Series rings. I mean, of course, Freeman's got one with Atlanta. Betts got a couple with the, one with the Red Sox. So you've got guys, these are veteran guys. I mean, I gotta say there's like the Marlins or somebody like that, or the Reds. I could see them being good places, but these are veterans. These guys know what to do. These guys know what not to do. So I don't see them looking far ahead. I think they wanna kind of prove themselves, especially after disappointingly losing in the first round of the playoffs last year. I think they want to kind of like get back to kind of redeem themselves, or kind of on a redemption tour, if you will. So I'm okay with the Dodgers. Look, I don't think they're going to do that. So we'll see what happens with them. Now, Julio Rodriguez had a good night last night, and as of course they win 3 out of 4. We're talking about the Mariners do against the Royals. Going to 6-4 win yesterday to clinch that officially clinch that series. He became the first MLB player with a 5-hit day game after a 4-hit night game. You guys, since Juan Pierre did it back in 2002, he had his 12 hits in that 2 games in that span, that 4-game span against the Royals, are the most in Mariners history. So big showing for him, especially since they're still right there in the AL West, that's 6 games back.
As we talked about the last 2 weeks, the Mariners are doing it quietly, and also you can like what they're doing with their starting rotation in their bullpen. But as we said before, this all starts with Julio Rodriguez in the offense, and they had picked it up these last 3 weeks, averaging over 6 runs a ball game. And you saw in that Kansas City series, which they took 3 out of 4 in a row, those bats are starting to wake up. Let's see if they can continue it as we go along here. You mentioned they trail by 6 games in that tough AL West, but they're even close in the wild card, and they really have a realistic shot, but they still have to jump over about 2 or 3 teams to get that done.
Yeah, we'll talk about those 2, 3 teams, 3 of those teams, I should say, in a second. But yeah, I mean, I think, they're starting to kind of get it going a little bit. Their pitching is actually starting to get together. Yes, I know it's against the Royals, but look, you did what you're supposed to. You win 3 out of 4. So you gotta look, if that's always a big jump there. They lose the opener, but then they end up winning the next 3. So that was a nice rebound there by the Mariners. And let's see here. I'm going into we talked about Brewers. We'll talk about Cincy for a second. Cincy, they split their 2-gamer in the Battle of Ohio against Cleveland, winning the back half of that. They played Toronto starting tonight. We'll get to Toronto in a second, but I kind of feel like with Cincy, I mean, they're one of those teams where I think the lack of experience and the lack of anything will come back to bite them. But we'll have to see with that.
Yeah, and don't forget Hunter Green, their star pitcher, is out right now. He's supposed to return to the lineup soon. As you mentioned, and then lineup is led by veteran Joey Votto and the rookie sensation of Ellie De La Cruz. And, of course, you have second baseman Jonathan India. As we mentioned before, they can hit the ball, but their problem has been starting rotation. They did not address that at the trade deadline. Like you said, it's coming back to bite them in the you-know-what now. And like you said, that Hunter Green injury definitely does not help matters, but because of the division that they're in, they're still in it, and I think they're going to go down without a fight because let's be honest here, we didn't expect Cincinnati to be competitive this year. They were supposed to be the Oakland A's of the National League, and since those players on the Reds said no, we're going to ignore what people say about us. We just go out and play ball, and they've done that so far. Give manager David Bell, former MLB player, credit for that, to having that team in the right mindset with a young squad.
As we're going through midway through August, you wonder will fatigue set in? I mean, you didn't say high about we're gonna prove everybody wrong. We're gonna be right there, which they are. But you wonder as it begins in September, will fatigue set in? Because of course they got to play the Cubs in a couple of weeks, and they also play the Brewers in a couple of weeks as well. So you wonder how that respond there. So we'll see what happens there. Tampa Bay had a. Well, I mean, I guess you could look at it. I mean, they win 3 out of 4 against San Francisco. That might be it for the Giants. We'll get to them in a second. But they did lose one of their aces, Shane McClanahan, for the year with Tommy John. So you got to wonder, that might come back to bite them in the butt, too. You're not going without some of their top aces. And we know that Tampa, they've struggled the last month and a half. They actually gotten together a little bit. Like I said, they win 2 out of 3 against the Giants. But you wonder with that McClanahan injury, you got to wonder, I don't want to say I'm sure they're still going to make the playoffs regardless, but I wonder McClanahan being out, you wonder how that's going to go.
Yeah, you wonder why they picked up Aaron Savali from the Cleveland Guardians at the trade deadline. Now we know why. But I think this may depends on how the season ends out. This injury may have cost him the division title. Of course, we'll get to what happened in Baltimore in a minute. But we know that Tampa Bay has a stockpile of talent, especially with their starting rotation. But it's been struggling this year, as you mentioned, ever since Shane McClanahan went down. He's one of the best left-handers in the game. And once you get in the tournament, get into the playoffs, who's your number one starter? He was it for Tampa. Now you got manager Kevin Cash got to find out in these next few weeks who's going to be that number one starter when you ring the bell for the playoffs. And I don't see it on that roster just yet. And that's going to be tough. And of course, Shane's going to miss all of next year as well. So it's going to be tough for Tampa Bay. So they got to play slightly above 500 ball and figure out who's going to be that number one starter come playoff time.
And that's going to be the big question there. So we'll see what happens with them staying in that division. Talking about Toronto. Toronto split their series, their 2-gamer against the Phillies. And, of course, they play the Reds starting tonight, and go Toronto. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting, especially you got that there's 7.5 back. They're still like right there in the wild card. It might be too big of a climb for them in the division, but you never know. So well, let's get to what happened in Baltimore. Sid, I mean, they had not a good week. I mean, they lose 2 or 3 to the Padres. I know it's tough to play in San Diego, but you wonder, like, I'm not too worried about them, but yeah, I mean, they had an okay road trip. They had a 500 road trip. So, but even still, I mean, you gotta you lose a 2 out of 3 to San Diego. That's not good.
That's not good, but like you said, I'm not too worried about them. Like you said, they finished at 500 for the road trip. And to finish 500 or above on a road trip during a long baseball season, it's tough, but it's a decent accomplishment, especially for a team that's been playing lights out in the American League. On the flip side for San Diego, you're surely want to throw dirt on them for what they've been doing this year, but they find themselves coming out of the ashes. And Fernando Tatis Jr. actually stole home plate. He found his inner Ellie De La Cruz and stole home plate.
Yeah.
Go figure that.
Yeah, I mean, but they're still going to have to jump over like 3 or 4 teams before they can even get to sniff it in the wild card. So they're about 5 back right now. So I'm wondering, like, that could kind of, I know a lot could happen, but still, I mean, that's still, that's a lot. They're 5 back of the Cubs right now for that last wild card spot. So we'll see. I mean, San Diego, you got to wonder, like, it's hard to figure them out. So I don't know what to think about them now going into. Speaking of since we're talking about the Marlins, we were talking about the Marlins earlier. Now the Marlins, they're starting to, they lose a tough one. Of course, our buddy Brandon's not here because, they lose 2 out of 3 to the Astros. And you wonder, like, they play the Dodgers on the road. So that's going to be interesting to see if they can kind of, hold their own. Now, I know that they had a pretty good showing on Monday. Jorge Soler, Luis Arias, and Josh Bell went back to back for Miami a couple earlier this week on Monday. It's just the second time that has happened in Marlins franchise history when Derek Lee, Cliff Floyd, and Kevin Ory did it back in '98 in the ninth inning, just broke a 6-1 comeback.
What Kevin Ory? If you old name for you Cub fans.
Oh boy,
that's the late '90s.
Yeah, I know. There's a name I hadn't heard in years, but yeah, I mean. It's like I said. I mean, it'll be interesting if I think the series gets the Dodgers. We'll see if they can at least split the series. They can at least win 2 out of 3. At least get 1 game. At least not get swept. I guess I can kind of keep up in there. But you wonder, like, oh goodness, this could be the end for them. But we'll see.
Yeah, let's go, Jake Berger. Speaking of former Chicago baseball players, as Jake Berger's many of you well know, that he was traded to the Marlins at the August 1st trade deadline, and he's really having fun down there. So hopefully he can continue that role as the Miami Marlins trying to fight for a playoff spot. I want to go back to the AL West, Lakina, for a minute. Of course, you mentioned the Astros winning 2 out of 3 in Miami, while Texas won 2 out of 3 against the LA Angels. A 2-part question for you here regarding the LA Angels. 1, do you think they're buried as far as the playoff spot is concerned? And number 2, Shohei Ohtani is experiencing a little nagging injuries, and it looks like he may not pitch again this year with the pending free agency. Do you shut him down, at least pitching wise, and let him hit from now to the end of the season?
I think they may have to do it, especially if that's going to be a big issue. I mean, he's still hitting the ball pretty well. I mean, but if you don't want to, I'm sure he doesn't want to, devalue himself. So I think if you're him, I think you want to try and maybe at least save some of your. You will at least say the pitch because a hit you can kind of you can DH or whatever. So he may not pitch anymore this year, which is unfortunate because he's probably just as excited of a pitcher as he is a hitter. If that's possible. But
yes,
yeah,
he is.
He's trying to get like a nice, a big payday. So like I don't think they're not gonna be competing for a wild card spot. Sorry, Chris, if you're listening to our buddy Chris Gilman, who I'm sure he's gonna be watching this later. But yeah, I just don't see it happening. So I think if you're the Angels, you're kind of out of it, both the West and the wild card. So I think you should just, say, bye-bye and just let him, try to, he's got, like I said, he's got a big payday he's trying to do. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, going back to the Rangers for a second, Max Scherzer, I think we saw a little bit of the old Max Scherzer a couple of nights ago. He recorded his 6th career game with 10 plus strikeouts and 0 hits. He had 1 hit, and that's tied for the most by any pitcher since the mound was set at his current distance only back in 1893. Only Nolan Ryan, who had 19, Randy Johnson, who had 10, and of course his former good friend and former teammate Justin Verlander had 8. And who had more, the 6 for him. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting with Texas because I think Texas is going to be one of those teams where they had a tough schedule coming up these last couple of weeks. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes, but it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of wrap up that division. But it's going to be tough.
Yeah, as we mentioned with the Jacob deGrom injury earlier this season, who's going to step up in that rotation? Of course, you have Nathan Eovaldi. I think he's still injured from what I've seen a couple of days ago. He stepped up. Of course, Dane Dunning. Remember that name, White Sox fans? He was traded for Lance Lynn a couple of years ago. He was doing very well. But when you acquired Max Scherzer at the deadline, you save money to your fans and to the rest of the team in the clubhouse that you're going for. And give Bruce Bochy, their manager, credit for keeping his team together. And Max Scherzer, he's been there, done that before with several other teams in his career. He's going to show the way for the young Texas Rangers squad who was not just building coming into this season, but they proved that they belong in one of the top teams in baseball. We know they can get it done offensively, but their starting pitch has been troublesome throughout the history of that franchise. And now that it's solid, Max Scherzer is showing you that he could be that. He's been this throughout his entire career, but he could be that number one dog come playoff time once the bell rings. Who's your game 1 start for Texas? And it's Max Scherzer.
Definitely. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with Scherzer. On the flip side, back to AL East for the Yankees, they get swept by the Braves. And
that was for 1996, you fools. Sorry.
We'll get to the rule.
In 99.
The Braves outscored the Yankees and the Mets 51-13. That's that 38 plus run differential is the best in the 5-game span. Get all the way back to 1957 when they were the Milwaukee Braves. They would go on to that. That team actually would go on to win the World Series, oddly enough. So maybe a little solace there. But I'll talk about the Yankees for a second. They're under 500 this late in the season for just a second. The second time. Well, the last time was back all the way. You got to go all the way back. Let me see, 1995. That was back when 9 of the current Yankees weren't even born yet. Go figure. Aaron Boone was in Double-A, and Derek Jeter was recalled from the minors for good that year. That was his first season. So, yeah, the Yankees not looking good for the Yankees right now. And I'm sure heads are rolling right now, especially in the Bronx.
I said early in the year when Aaron Judge was hurt, no Judge, no playoffs. It looks like there's no starting pitching, no playoffs for the New York Yankees. And you talk about Aaron Judge, you talk about Giancarlo Stanton, but you need some of the other guys to step up. Anthony Volpe, their star second baseman, he's having an off year. And some of the other supporting cast members that were supposed to step up, they haven't stepped up. But they really suffered through their starting rotation outside of Garrett Cole. The bullpen's actually been pretty decent, but you can't get anything in your starting rotation outside of Garrett Cole. You have injuries up and down your lineup. This is not going to be the year for the Yankees to make the playoffs. Now, will it result in a pink slip and a link card for GM Brian Cashman? We shall see. The same fate could be said about manager Aaron Boone.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's definitely going to be something to look out for. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of wondering, like, okay, what's going to happen here? But, yeah, I mean, just so unfortunate. Just, I don't want to say bad luck, but you kind of wonder, like, you thought that maybe the Yankees were going to be right there in the AL East with the Braves. No one thought that Baltimore would be up there right now. So, definitely it's to make at least finish strong. As we go into the scheduling real quick for this weekend, of course, talk about the Royals and the Cubs. They're going to be starting in about 20 minutes from now. Don't look, watch us first, have the game in the background, and we'll listen to us. Detroit and Cleveland. We'll see if Detroit can play a little bit of spoiler for Guardians. They had an okay week this week. The Guardians did. Toronto and Cincinnati. That's gonna be the one of the games on Apple TV Plus tonight. So MLB TV.com. Go Toronto. Don't let us down tonight. And of course, the other game of an Apple TV Plus game for regional action. You got Boston and New York. Go figure with that one. For this year. Philadelphia and Washington. Philadelphia trying to save the Strikers of the NL wild card. Detroit and Cleveland. That's going to be the second game of that doubleheader. Of course, that first game that's a makeup game. San Francisco and Atlanta. That should be interesting. Milwaukee and Texas. And you've got Minnesota hosting Pittsburgh.
And to finish out the weekend schedule, we will have Lakina Seattle Mariners facing the Houston Astros in Houston. Remember, Seattle gave it to Houston last time they were down there about a little bit, I believe, over a month ago. So we'll see if they can do that again. Of course, you have the Mets and the Cardinals, two disappointing teams. We'll have Tampa Bay at Los Angeles to take on the Angels. Baltimore at Oakland. This is a get-right series for Baltimore to pad their stats. And you have Arizona at San Diego. I think this is an elimination series for both these teams as they battle for the NL wild card. And you have the Dodgers in hosting the Miami Marlins. And Lakina will give you the national television schedule for this weekend.
FS1, of course, no Fox game, Saturday game. Of course, that was yesterday. So that's because of the Women's World Cup. Final be I think is the third place game. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We got New York and of course the Yankees Red Sox series, second game of that series. That'll be on FS1 at 12:05, and of course 3:05. You got the Rangers hosting the Brewers. Go Rangers! That's gonna be the second game of that FS1 doubleheader. And on Peacock, you got the third game of that Seattle-Houston series. So remember, it's Sunday. So. But I said Saturday again, didn't I? Okay. Sunday, that third game of that series will be on Peacock at 12:05, and of course, the ESPN Sunday Night Baseball game of the week. Of course, you got the Phillies and the Nationals.
And that's the Little League Classic game, so a lot of family language will be used in that one.
yeah, exactly. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of dugout interviews for that game. So so that's why I know people are wondering, okay, why the Phillies and the Nationals? The Little League World Series is starting right now, so that's why. And that's your schedule for this weekend in the MLB.
Hour number 1 is in the books. Hour number 2 straight ahead. You're listening to Second City Sports Live in the 11 color on the Friday edition right here in Sports Chicago. The NBA released its schedule. Some of these teams in the social media circles got a little creative, including our team in Chicago. We'll discuss that. The Bulls released their schedule. We have sports media news as changes are always occurring. We'll give you the latest of that. And we'll have a whole lot more nuggets and a whole lot more fun. I'm Sid. You're listening to Second City Sports Live in Living Color right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared.
Do you know that you're in my lane?
No, not at all.
Are you not paying attention? Are you texting?
I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6.
It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention.
I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of this Friday, Fun Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80, that's SIDKID80, that's SIDKID80.
You can follow Makina McGee on the Twitter and Akina's going to get the IG or Twitter X.
We have less than 55 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up in the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV.
Okay. So the NBA released their scheduling yesterday. Their schedule release. Some very creative ways that some teams decided to do it. Of course, the Bulls here in Chicago. Of course, they did the whole Pokemon thing. It was actually really cool how they did.
They almost look like the old sumo. And remember, Lakina, of course, you remember the Tecmo Bowl. Tecmo Bowl for the football. Remember they had NBA Super Tecmo Bowl for back in the day,
yes,
which it didn't last long, but it kind of reminded me of that. But it was very creative of the Bulls social media team. They used the Pokemon thing. I kind of like that.
Yeah, that was actually pretty cool. I mean, they always do a good job, but probably the team that actually did the best job was the Nets.
Yes.
It took a cue from the Tennessee Titans when the NFL released their schedule a couple months ago, where they had asked people around. I guess they were in Coney Island. They asked folks around to identify the team logos. I don't know. Look, I'm wondering did they pay some of those people? Are you seriously saying that they don't know that one guy? Well, okay, now we'll get that one guy with all the dogs. The white guy with all the dogs credit, of course. The Atlanta Hawks do play in the State Farm Insurance Arena. So he has state insurance, so it actually did kind of make sense. That one dude with the
I would have given him some tickets to that game.
Yeah,
I would have given him free tickets to that game.
Maybe he should. Of course, the guy with the orange shirt. I mean, of course, his girlfriend. I mean, well, she said Pelicans. No, wait, that's the no, wait, no. The funniest was, I guess, two with I think it was the Blazers. Two question marks making love. I didn't say that. He did. I think one lady called the Bulls the Buffaloes, which I guess it's the same family, animal family. I get Animal Kingdom, I guess, but it's funny. It's about 2.5 minutes. So go look it up on YouTube. We'll go on the Brooklyn Nets' social media website. What was your favorite part about it?
I was gonna get ready to say the Bulls. The one person called the Bulls the Buffaloes. Don't forget the Phoenix Suns. The Moon had a son and a baby.
Oh God, that guy again.
And the Los Angeles Lakers is the LSU Tigers.
Apparently. Well, Shaq played at LSU, so again, it kind of intertwines. As oddly enough, it does intertwine. So that was actually pretty funny. And of course, Shazam. He was on Shazam. Of course, the Magic. The Clovers, the Celtics, that one young lady. So I'm like I said, it's 2.5 million is a pure, hilarity. So, I don't know if that was, real or not, but, check it out on YouTube. Like I said, the Brooklyn Nets have it on their website. But yeah, Jaleel White appeared on the one with CJ McCollum. That was a little bit kind of odd. I don't know about you, but that one was a little bit odd to me. I know I don't know what they were trying to do there, but I don't know. That was kind of weird.
I didn't see that. But did you check out? I saw clips of this. You guys should go to Orlando Magic on all social media social media pages, including here on YouTube. Did you check out their schedule release? Remember when you had cable in the 90s, Lakina, that old TV Guide channel, which doesn't exist anymore? Orlando Magic took a page out of that and released their the dates and opponents for their team. I kind of like that one as well. I think that one is I'm not gonna say a distant third, but it's a close third. So I didn't see all the teams.
I didn't either.
I would have Brooklyn first, Bulls second, and Orlando third. For what I've seen in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, I will say, those are the only ones I saw. So I know people were retweeting the one. I know everyone loved the Nets one. I know people like the Bulls one as well. So yeah, those are like the top three. So, but going into the scheduling, the actual schedule itself for the Bulls, I mean, they have like the 10th easiest schedule in the NBA, the 8th easiest schedule in the East. They don't have a lot.
You don't say.
Right, and they don't have a lot of back-to-backs. So we don't have a lot of quick turnarounds. So this actually could help them. The first 9 are, I guess. They host OKC in Toronto. Those are their first 2 games at home. Then they go at Detroit, at Indiana, at Dallas. Then they play. Well, okay. The season starts October 25th for the Bulls. Just a reminder there.
Wednesday.
Yes, and of course, like I said, OKC, Toronto, and Detroit. The team that doesn't exist. Apparently, that one guy said in that Nets promo. The police department of, I guess, Indiana Pacers. The Stallions, they called it the Mavericks. So I got myself Brooklyn, and Denver, of course, the defending reigning champs, and Utah. So they have a chance to go about, I think, 6-3. I think have a decent start there. I think the Denver, Utah, that might be a little tough, but and Dallas too. But the other games are pretty winnable. So I think they could probably start off at 6-3, perhaps, maybe. I don't know. I might be going to. Again, this is too early predictions, folks, but because this is October. But I think they could go 6-3, maybe 7, maybe not 7-2, but definitely 6-3. They're definitely doable.
Yeah, no worse than 5-4. Like I say, 6-3, 5-4 is very realistic for this team because, of course, Arturo Karnisovas and GM Mark Eversley decided to run this team back with just only a couple of new additions. But like you said, it's a good mixture to start out the year. Detroit, I know they're supposed to be improved. Your guy, Cade Cunningham, is supposed to be back from injury. But I know they got Jalen Ivey now injured in the second year out of the University of Purdue. Of course, Indiana gave the Bulls trouble last year. I think they came back on the Bulls not once but twice from a 20-point deficit to defeat the Bulls. So that's going to be tough. Like I said, Dallas is tough with Luka. So, like I said, the Bulls still should have a decent start. Did you check out the end of their schedule, Lakina? I think their last 5 or 6 games are all on the road.
Yeah, that's going to be.
I found that
tough.
to be weird.
That is sort of where the last 3 are on the road. You got Detroit, Washington, and New York. So again, we'll see where all those teams are by then. I mean, could they be fighting for a main playoff spot? I'm not talking about the play-in. I'm talking about the top 6 spots. So, and don't get me started with the NBA in-season tournament. Well, don't get me started on that weirdness. But
games will take place in November every Tuesday and every Friday. Of course, the semifinals and the championship will occur in the first week of December in Las Vegas. We'll leave it at that.
Oh, brother, goodness gracious.
I know.
Yeah. Right, yeah. I think they only have like one TNT game, and I think I think that's against they don't have the TV stuff on there just yet. I know they got like 3 NBA TV games. January 18th against Toronto. That's at Toronto. That's going to be the lone
You're talking
TNT.
about the Bulls, correct?
Yeah, that's the lone TNT game. I think they only have they have 3 games on ESPN. If I'm not mistaken. I'm talking about the Bulls. Of course, they got the Knicks at the Knicks. That's the 3rd of January. And February 14th, Valentine's Day, they host the Cleveland Cavaliers, or are from that Nets video, of course. Well, they are Pirates, kind of. So I guess that it does kind of track. Of course, they also on March 1st, their last one is against just a Friday against the Bucks, which I forgot what that one guy called them, taxidermist. I guess they were trying to say that head moose. They call them moose heads, but yeah, sorry to keep bringing up the Nets. That was just hilarious. But yeah, they have like 3. Yeah, they have about 4 NBA ESPN games, I should say. So those are and a couple NBA TV games as well. Now your Christmas schedule is like this: you got the Bucks and the Knicks, Warriors and Nuggets, Celtics and Lakers, Sixers and Heat, and Mavs and Suns.
That's a very good Christmas schedule for the NBA. Of course, you want your top teams to be displayed during on the biggest stage. Don't forget the NFL has a triple header, I believe, on that day as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know the Ravens and the 49ers will be the long game. I believe it's on ABC. That's why the 2 Christmas night games are on ESPN because the Ravens and 49ers will be on the ABC and ABC. So the NBA for the second or third year in a row is going ahead against the NFL. So triple header day.
Yep. So that'll be very interesting when that time comes. That's going to be pretty interesting as well. Now, Chris Paul, CP3's first meeting against his old team. Of course, now playing with the Warriors, obviously, and that I think that'll be a nationally televised game. Yes, it will be. There'll be the opener on the 24th of October. On TNT. So that'll be his first meeting against his old team. I'll talk about CP3.
Yeah, and that first game is opening night for the Denver Nuggets as they'll receive their championship rings against LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers. Of course, that's the rematch of last year's Western Conference Finals where the defending champion Nuggets swept the Lakers in 4 straight. And, of course, ESPN will tip off their coverage on Wednesday, October 25th with a doubleheader of the Celtics at the Knicks at 6 o'clock, followed by Mavericks and the Spurs at 8:30. Victor Wembanyama's San Antonio Spurs debut.
Excuse me, against the Spike. That's what the guy call him, the people call him in the video apparently. Yeah, but that should be an interesting game. Luka versus Wembanyama. That should be an interesting game there. Of course, the 26th doubleheader on TNT. You got the Sixers and the Bucks, of course, the 76 Stars, and the taxidermist. And of course, the second game, that doubleheader at 9 o'clock. You got the Suns and the Lakers on TNT. KD versus LeBron. That should be a fun one.
Yep, and then that first Friday of the NBA season on October 27th, ESPN will have their doubleheader, the Heat at the Celtics, rematch of last year's Eastern Conference Finals, followed by the Warriors and the Kings, the rematch of last year's first round series.
Should be an interesting one. I'm sure we'll see how the Kings look. The Knicks, of course, over the Yankees, I guess, in that video. And God, I'm sorry to keep bringing that up, but it's just hilarious that some of those people, that couldn't have been real, apparently, but whatever. A Saturday game, of course, that'll be on NBA TV, both on NBA TV, these games, the Knicks and the Pelicans. That should be an interesting one. And the Jazz and the Suns, or or the Sun and the Moon had a baby, I guess. I don't know. I forgot what they called the Jazz one.
The Sun had a moon and a baby.
Yeah, I forgot what they called the Jazz. Well, I forgot about what they called the Jazz. It was actually something pretty silly, but yeah, the Jazz and the Suns at 9 o'clock on Saturday, September 28th. That's gonna October 20th. I should say that's gonna be the opener of the NBA your NBA series, season, I should say.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget, John Morant, the star point guard of the Memphis Grizzlies, will miss the first 25 games of the season due to off the field foolishness. And don't forget, this year's All-Star game in 2024 will be in Indianapolis, Indiana. They were supposed to have it in 2020, but due to COVID, they rescheduled it for this upcoming season. And the ABC Saturday primetime schedule begins on January 27th with a triple header with the Heat, Knicks, Philadelphia, traveling to Denver, and then the nightcap will be the Lakers and the Warriors. And the Saturday night schedule for ABC will continue from there through March 16th, aside from February 17th, which I just mentioned, that's All-Star Weekend. And the ABC Sunday Showcase will start on February 11th with the Celtics and the Heat, and 3 doubleheaders every other week on February 25th, March 3rd, and March 17th.
And just a quick reminder about the NBA group tournament. Of course, you'll see some of the games throughout. Just check out local listings on ESPN, TNT, and NBA TV. So basically, check your local listings for that. I won't go through all the scheduling because I think, like I said, I think the NBA the season tournament is just silly. But the opener will be November 3rd. The East 8, East S, I think is what they're calling it. The Knicks and the Bucks, and East A, you got the Cavs and the 76ers. The Lakers hosting, that'll be on the 21st of November. Also, the 21st of November, you got the Lakers hosting the Jazz. Just like the games are on our list somewhere, so I'm not gonna go through all of them, but just because it's just a little bit silly. But yeah, and any other top games you're looking forward to, Sid?
Yeah, just a couple of questions about the Bulls for a second. Unfortunately, having trouble loading up the Bulls schedule on this computer screen. But I know Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs will visit the United Center here in Chicago in early December. You want to place a bet? Do you think Mr. Wembanyama will play in his Chicago debut this year? Because Greg Popovich is going to do that load management foolishness on him this year. Do you think he plays in that game?
That's gonna be a second back-to-back for them. So yeah, I'm wondering.
I'm gonna say no.
I probably not. I mean, yeah, I don't think he will. I think you said you know how Pop is. We saw this piece,
but I don't think I will be.
Yeah, I don't think he'll play in that one. I know a lot of Bulls fans would love to see him. They had a small chance of getting him had the Bulls gotten the top 4 pick, but yeah, I don't think he's gonna play. I don't think it's gonna happen, but yeah. It'll be nice to see him though. That'd be pretty cool. I think they're only going to be playing like a couple of times here in Chicago. The Spurs are so.
Just once, yeah, just once. The Spurs just the Spurs are in the West, of course, the Bulls in the East. So yeah. I would say no. I hope I'm wrong, but save this tape. But I don't think Victor Wembanyama is going to play in that game. I didn't know it was a second of a back-to-back.
Yeah,
what's it? So.
Yeah, so that's probably why he may not play because it is a second of a back-to-back. You know how Pop is, so
How many games do you think Victor's going to play this year?
I took a little peek at the Spurs schedule, so I think they've got they got a pretty tough one too. They got a couple of back-to-back. So if I had to go with the over/under, maybe 68, 69, games. I know that I think the minimum was the minimum was 60 for a rookie of the year. I guess because they changed all the rules and the weirdness and stuff. So he'll play enough to have a shot at winning rookie of the year, but I don't think Pop. I'm sure Pop he wants to kind of make sure this guy kind of bulks up and whatnot, and they have some back-to-backs for every other game, so he might want to kind of. I don't think he wants to overuse him, so I'm thinking he'll probably play maybe 68 to 70. I think I don't think he's gonna play the whole 82. I just don't see it happening.
I say 65, and we'll revisit this again once the season starts in October. I'll say 65.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting though, but like I said, he's not gonna, Pop's not gonna let him play the whole all 82. You know how he is, so it's not gonna happen. But who do you think has the toughest schedule on the NBA?
I would say the Warriors first, and then Phoenix, and then the Lakers.
Let's see here.
Because I know those 3 teams are on national TV a lot.
Yeah, so I'm wondering. I'm gonna see because I'm trying to see some of these because I know they say that I know that the Bulls have the 10th easiest and the 8th toughest among the Eastern Conference teams. So let me see if I can get there. Let's see here.
Of course, these are based on the winning positions of the teams from a year ago.
Yeah, so that's why, as you saw, the Bulls getting the 8th easiest schedule treatment. So I know they said that. I know somebody said they had the 5th easiest, which I think that's kind of a little bit, kind of weird there.
To a team that really made the play-in last year.
Right. So yeah, I think let me see here. Hold on. I know I had it, so I know someone mentioned it, but I forgot. But yeah. So it's probably I think it's probably up there with that. I think the Bulls are definitely up there. I think maybe the win percentage, maybe we probably would say the Spurs have the easiest, quote unquote easiest schedule if you want to go by winning percentage. But again, you never know how weird the NBA is. The one saw Sacramento coming out of nowhere and doing what they did last year. So you just don't know. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We're live in living color on this Friday afternoon. She's Lakina over there. I'm Sid right here. Lakina, let's go over to back to the world of football. We may have to continue this following this bottom of the hour timeout, but I was listening to Colin Cowherd of FS1 yesterday, and he had a list of his top 10 quarterback and wide receiver duos in the NFL today. And we'll start from the bottom to the top. We'll start off at number 10, Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown from the Detroit Lions. We got the worst receiver, Equan St. Brown, here in Chicago with the Bears, but that's neither here or there. Number 9, Tua Tagovailoa and Tyreek Hill. Number 8, Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. Number 7, Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. And number 6, Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs.
Okay, I would think that maybe the Diggs Allen combination would be a little bit higher, but I mean, I want to see I want to hear the rest of the list. I think we got a little bit of time before we go to break.
Okay.
We got some few minutes, yeah.
Okay, we'll finish out the rest of the list. This is Colin Cowherd from FS1 and Fox Sports Radio. His quarterback wide receiver combo in the NFL today. Number 5, Derek Carr and Chris Olive from the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, from New Orleans, yeah.
Number 4, Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson from the New York Jets. Number 3, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce from the Kansas City Chiefs.
And number
2, Trevor.
How rude.
I know.
How rude. Two Super Bowls together. How rude.
Number 2, Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley from the Jacksonville Jaguars. I got to see that before I put them in number 2. I'm sorry,
number 2.
Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah.
Man, plus Ridley missed all of last year, so stop it. And
number
1
there too. He just got there too. So
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry. Number 1.
And number 1, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase from the Cincinnati Bengals. And I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean,
now me personally, I would switch number 2 and number 6. You know, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs was 6. I would switch them to number 2.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably feel the same way. I think I would have put them in number 2. I mean, I'm okay with Burrow and Chase being, number 1. Of course, they go all the way back to LSU, so that combination has been around for a while. I mean, Kelce and Mahomes and Kelce at 3, really? Like, they got 2 Super Bowls, like. Really, well, I don't expect nothing else from Mr. Cowher, but that's a whole different thing. Excuse me, but the Tua Hill thing is going to be interesting because we don't know how healthy Tua is going to be. That's going to be the number 1 question here. How is he going to be health wise? Coming back. So, one hit, and you got to think it might be over and done with for him. So, but
you hope not.
Yeah, I mean, St. Brown and Golf. I mean, like I said, I want to. Yeah, that's stuff. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I think we'll see if Detroit finally kind of makes that breakthrough this year. I know we've been teasing for the last 2 years, so now they kind of got a rhythm going. We'll see what happens there. Yeah, the Lawrence Ridley stuff is a little bit weird, like you said. I mean, he just got there, so. I know the buzz has been pretty good for them coming in, in camp for the Jags, but I want to actually see it in game mode before I put them at that high up. I mean, I know that Colin's a big Clemson fan and big college football fans. Like that's probably where that, not saying Lawrence doesn't deserve the love. I mean, he definitely does, but I'm wondering, yeah, he does. I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like they might be a little bit. I think if anything, I think he should definitely. I think the Golf St. Brown combo should be, at 6. Put those 2. I'm talking about Lawrence are really at 10. Then maybe if they do well and the Jaguars go off to a good start, they got a pretty tough schedule this year. Then we'll probably find out if they're worthy of being that high up. But yeah, I think the names are fine. The number, the order is just a little bit off to me.
Yeah, I just want to discuss number 7 real quick. Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. I think those 2 will have an outstanding year. But remember, they're not going to surprise people anymore. Justin Jefferson is going to see a lot of different coverages. He's going to see a whole lot of double teams. And remember, Adam Thielen is no longer there. He's with the Carolina Panthers trying to help out rookie QB Bryce Young. So Justin Jefferson, he's still going to get his numbers this year. I think it's going to be tough. The question is for the Vikings, who's going to step up and be that number 2 wide receiver.
And that's going to be the thing. So I think that's, like you said, like I said, Thielen's not there anymore. You got maybe KJ Osborne gets a lot more touches. I know Jordan S. I know he's been, I know he got nicked up a little bit in camp, so we haven't seen him a lot. Remember, we still got TJ Hawkinson too, so he might be prime for a big year with him. So again, the order I probably would disagree with, but like the names, I don't really mind the names. I mean, look, if they're good this year, maybe we'll see Justin Fields, DJ Moore on that list for the Bears. Who knows? But
Yeah, real quick, I know we're starting to go up against it before the bottom of the hour break, but what are your thoughts about Ezekiel Elliott being signed by Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots?
Oh boy, is he gonna see the ball though? That's the one question I have. I mean, I know that it was probably a money thing. I'm thinking they probably offered the most money out of all the teams. I know I saw who else I saw they were interested. I know that I think I saw somewhere that the Dolphins were interested in him. I know a couple other NFC teams. I forgot which ones were interested in him as well. Mostly from the AFC side and the NFC. So I mean, I'm just wondering where's he gonna fit in that offense. I mean, it's pretty. They have a pretty deep running back. So are we gonna see Zeke that much? So
I don't think you will. My guess is Bill Belichick may use him at the goal line. Maybe
because you got Ramondre Stevenson, so
exactly, who's a pretty decent running back in his own right.
He's pretty much the main guy. So I don't know, is he gonna be they third and short or fourth and short or goal line? Because I don't think you're gonna be seeing them a lot. I mean, Stevens gonna probably get the bulk of those carries. So
yeah,
I think it's more of a money thing. I know he gets a lot of incentives if he gets certain points. So I don't know, but yeah, it's a little bit weird. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you in that same boat. I think you'll see Ezekiel Elliott in a lot of short yardage situations, and you may see him in a goal line packages. We'll see about that, but you're definitely going to see him in some special packages because we all saw the film on him the last couple of years, especially with the emergence of Tony Pollard. Ezekiel Elliott, with all the miles on those tires, he just can't do it anymore. And you know as well as I do, once you reach the age of 30 in the NFL, especially at the running back position, you consider yourself a senior citizen. So I think this will help Zeke as far as football-wise is concerned. Like I say, I think he'll be a part of some special packages. You could keep him fresh. You definitely keep Stevenson fresh as well.
Maybe just see how this goes. Yeah, it might be interesting over there in Foxborough. We'll see what happens with that. All right, we got to take a really quick break. Of course, we're gonna talk some sports media news. A lot happened over this week, so Sid and I will talk a lot about that. And we may talk a little bit more football too. We may talk about the episode 2 of Hard Knocks. So we'll see what happens, how it all goes. But yeah, sports media news coming up next. Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown, Second City Sports on Chicago. Wrapping things up coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me something.
I finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Interrupted my dance flow. Welcome back to Second City Sports, the Friday edition. This is our last segment of the show for today and the last segment for the week. I'm Sid the Kid along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You can follow Lakina McGee on the Twitter, X at Kendall's Room again, the IG.
As I mentioned, this is our last segment of the show for today and for the weekend. You want to hit us up with any questions or comments, you can head over to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid, a lot of sports media news came out within the last few days since we last talked. So probably the biggest one, and I think we all saw this coming, especially once news came out that, we're talking about Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe, who, of course, left undisputed on FS1. Happy 10th anniversary to FS1. He left that, of course, a few months ago. We saw all the rumors and such. We saw that Stephen A. Smith said he wanted him to come on First Take. Some of the rumors that have followed since. And of course, it was all but official yesterday, thanks to Andrew Marchand for New York Post, that he has. Well, actually, you know what? The weird thing is that Stephen A. Smith actually came out and said that earlier this morning that he has not, talking about Sharpe, has not signed on yet with ESPN, even though Andrew Marchand kind of put out there that he, is all but official now. So he's going to appear on first talk about Sharpe at least twice a week during the football season. I don't know what's going to happen after that, but what do you think about this move? Not really a big surprise, I feel like, because I think this is definitely going to be interesting to see how all this goes, especially with Stephen A. and Sharpe talking football. That should be interesting.
Yeah, I think this may set up a bigger role for Shannon at First Take because of what he did with Skip on FS1's Undisputed. Of course, Shannon talked about the basketball and a little bit of baseball here and there. His takes were very respected without the sports media world. So I think this could set up a bigger role for him down the line. Of course, you still have Chris Magdar Russo. He made news with his XM channel. We'll get to that in a couple of minutes. But you have Chris Magdar Russo that's there already. Occasionally, Marcus Spears. And, of course, I like J.J. Redick personally. Whenever I do watch clips of that show, he usually challenges Stephen A. I know Stephen A. doesn't like that all the time. But they have pretty much a full rotating roster of co-hosts. And I asked the question to you before we went on live today. I'll ask it again here. With the new lineup out there at FS1 for Undisputed with Skip Bayless featuring Rachel Nichols and Richard Sherman and Lil Wayne, looks like on Fridays. We know that Mike already appeared on First Take for the last couple of years on Mondays. Do you think this now opens the door for Mike already to go over to Undisputed at FS1?
We'll see. I mean, I know that he has been at ESPN for various reasons lately, so I'm wondering, could this be, something that, especially with Sharpe now, all but official, like I say, I'm sure it's going to be official. It's going to be, a matter of, when it will be officially be announced. But I think, look, it's going to be interesting to see how, Stephen A. and Sharpe and others who kind of mesh. I mean, we know that he's pretty smart. We're talking about Shannon Sharpe, so I'm wondering how it is going to go, and it's going to get interesting because we'll see. I mean, it's going to get interesting because I wonder will someone say something a crossword or something like that? So yeah, this is going to get it's going to get very tough.
Yeah, and sticking with ESPN, Pat McAfee, who took the bag from ESPN, as the kids would say. Of course, FanDuel was the sponsor of his show for the last several years. The Pat McAfee Show will debut on September 7th. Interesting enough, that's the opening night of the NFL between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions. The Pat McAfee Show will premiere on Thursday afternoon at 12 noon Eastern on ESPN on September 7th. Also, it's going to be aired live on ESPN's YouTube page and ESPN Plus. So no more early afternoon sports centers for 2 hours at least.
Yeah, that's going to be tough because that noon sports center was kind of a staple for many years. So especially once they started showing Sports Centers daily. So especially what's gonna happen once breaking news. I mean, look, no shade to Pat McAfee, but I don't want to hear him, break, some news about, NBA trades or, NFL trades or MLB trades or whatever. So I don't want him doing that. So, I don't know. I mean, this is gonna get interesting for other reasons, but I don't know. I mean, this is where it's going to get a little bit tough. I mean, we'll see once the schedule goes. I don't see it making a big, inroads, but like I said, it's cheaper programming. So I guess, they're paying them all that money. So I guess they have to, put him on ESPN. Is going to simulcast it, but he's not going to be able to swear as much. So I hope he knows that.
Yeah, we'll see what's happening with that. Of course, speaking of Chris Mad Dog Russo, his XM sports channel on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Michelle Beadle, who's doing former ESPN at one time, and she does some work with the San Antonio Spurs. Michelle Beadle and Cody Decker, former baseball player, former minor league baseball player, they'll host a show together on Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Channel Radio. Of course, Cody Decker, I think, is a very good baseball analyst. Of course, he works for Odyssey. You hear him as a guest all the time on 670 The Score here in Chicago. So it's going to be pretty much an interesting mix between these two. Of course, Cody Decker has been the co-host on the Craig Carton show that airs every morning on FS1. And so he's a very good baseball analyst. He could definitely hold his own. Michelle Beadle, she's been around for a while. So this is a pretty interesting mix.
It is. Like I said, I've never been a fan of Michelle Beadle. So for various reasons, I'm not going to get into it, but I'm not going to get into it, but it's fine. I mean, look, if you guys want it, that's where you want to go. I mean, I'm not going to stop y'all. I mean, look, you could watch what you want or listen to what you want. I mean, it's fine. So move on.
All right. And speaking of leaving, Sage Steele finally says goodbye to ESPN television after settling her lawsuit for almost 2 years. And she said at the end of her tweet, after 16 years, we'll see what's next. Just paraphrasing, we'll see what's next. Hashtag Steele Strong.
Oh, yeah, I know. Like I said, my mom always, my mom still tells me this, even at 41. My mom said, if you have nothing nice to say, like, don't say anything at all. So I'm going to follow her advice and heed her advice and not say anything. Moving
on. All right. And of course, here in Chicago, the sports app of Marquee Sports Network has been advertising, as we talked about, Lakina, for the last couple of weeks, and I think it's going to help Cub fans get easier access to stream their games. You do not have to pay any cable services for if you're a Cubs fan to watch the games. As the team it looks like it's heading toward meaningful games in late August and at least heading to early September.
And out of market too, if you live outside Chicago or even outside Illinois, you'll be able to have access to this. So I think this is actually a great. This is actually a great for all those folks. Like I said, I told you guys to go a while back. I have a friend who lives in Iowa who's a Cubs fan. He's not able to watch it, because of Marquee. So now with this, the direct to streaming package, he can get it whenever he wants. So, and I'm sure other teams are already doing this. I'm sure other teams are going to follow suit. So going to pay for a small fee to get the game streaming. And look, you get to actually be able to the chance to watch the Cubs play meaningful baseball. So it's a bonus for everybody and a little bit of money too. So, hopefully they'll, be able to at least pursue Ohtani, if nothing else.
Yeah, true. Going back to the NFL, Lakina, NFL Sunday Ticket, which will make its debut this fall on YouTube TV. I know many of you have paid for it already, unlike yours truly. YouTube is rolling out the multi-view key plays for your NFL Sunday TV experience for this upcoming season.
Interesting that, like I said, they're trying to do everything they can to make sure folks don't go to the red zone and stuff like that. So they want to, I said, they want to have another backup. So yeah, I mean, I think it's hilarious that they're doing this. Because we saw that Google's YouTube had issues, especially during the NBA playoffs. We talked about that. So again, trying to get the multi-view thing, kind of like similar to Red Zone. So you can get 4 games. You could do like not only a squad box, but I guess like a 4-way box where you can get like various games and out of market games. So it'll be interesting to see what how this goes. But yeah, it's gonna be. I'm not paying $400 some for it. So
same here. And CBS Sports, Lakina, rolled out their broadcasting team for the college football season for 2023. Any issues?
No. I mean, I think it's definitely. I mean, look, we know that that Brad Nessler, Gary Danielson, and Jenny Dell, they're the top team. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not, gonna, oh my God, like no. I mean, again, it'll be just see how long he wants to. I'm talking about like Gary Danielson wants to do this. So I'm interested to see how long he wants to do it, because I know he's in his 60s now, so he's getting up there in age. We're gonna see Jason McCourty a little bit more when he's not doing CBS NFL games, NFL CBS games. We're gonna be seeing him doing some college football games with Tom McCarthy, so that's going to be interesting. There too, and of course, some, of course, our buddy Randy Cross got to get him back on the next week or two, to talk some college football. He's going to be doing half the Army Navy game, I should say, as you've been doing that the last few years, with John Static and of course Shaheen Stanway Birch. Among other folks, other additional, of course, we got Carter Blackburn. He's back after taking the year off. He's gonna be back, doing college football this year, among others. Of course, you're gonna have, of course, I think I don't have really an issue with it. Like I said, you got Ross Tucker gonna be doing some college football stuff too. He's a reporter, been doing it for years for college football. So it's gonna be interesting for him doing that. He's gonna be doing those games with Tom McCarthy and Jason McCourty. So no real issues with the CBS crew. I mean, they have a pretty solid slate of games in the Mountain West and other FCS divisions. So yeah, I mean, not like I said, no issues here.
Okay, and sticking with the world of college football, there's been some big new Saturday games that were announced earlier this week for Fox and Peacock. On September 23rd on Fox at high noon, we'll have Oklahoma at Cincinnati. That should be a very interesting one. September 30th, Michigan at Nebraska. That's on Fox. Of course, that doubleheader for Fox on Saturday will at 3:30 Eastern. That's 2:30 our time with Michigan State at Iowa. Can Iowa score some points? That should be interesting in itself. And of course, my birthday, October 7th, Rutgers at Wisconsin at noon.
Like it. I like it. I mean, it's going to be, you got to think that you thought that they were going to have a big schedule to start off their season. So I know this going to be weird for folks that people forget the Big Ten was on CBS back in the mid 80s. If you remember the Michigan-Iowa game that settled, who's going to go to the Rose Bowl, that was on CBS back in 85. So I think people forget about that. So, and look, Michigan-Ohio State was on CBS for a couple of years at one point before they moved to ABC. So it's not that weird they're going to see Big Ten games on CBS. So I don't know where people are getting that from, but But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting because it's been about 30 years since the Big Ten's been on CBS, like maybe 35 years, something like that. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
And there's some exclusive games on Peacock this year. Starting on October 7th is Rutgers at Wisconsin, and then the doubleheader is Maryland at Ohio State. That's also on Peacock. And of course, on October 13th at 11 a.m., Illinois at Maryland. They'll be on Peacock. And November 4th at 2:30 Chicago time, Iowa and Northwestern. Northwestern will probably be winless by then.
I mean, Peacock, I know, they're trying to get people to go to Peacock. So, this is probably all it is going to be about. I mean, that Maryland-Illinois game, that's going to be interesting to put. They're going to put that on Peacock. But, but like I said, I mean, they'll try to get more people to sign up for. I know that they up the prices, but look, all you Big Ten, alums and fans are going to have to, you're going to have to do something. So sorry, folks.
Yeah. And Peacock will wrap up their schedule on November 11th at 11 o'clock Chicago time, Minnesota at Purdue.
That should be a fun, we'll see where both teams are. Should be a fun matchup there. So yeah, looking forward to that one. Yeah. So like I said, a new, welcome to college football broadcasting in 2023. You're going to have some games on CBS. You're going to have games on Peacock. You may have some, I'm sure a lot of those CBS games you mentioned a couple minutes ago will be on Paramount Plus streaming. So get ready for more of that, folks. Sorry.
Yep. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina hanging out with you on the Friday edition. And before we head into the weekend, we still have a few minutes left. Lakina, you said you wanted to make some comments about episode 2 of the Hard Knocks series on HBO featuring the 2023 New York Jets. Haven't checked it out yet. I will. I'm sure I'll give you my rundown on Monday. But what were your thoughts?
I mean, I saw a little bit of it. Like I said, I didn't see all of it, but you saw a little bit more Aaron Rodgers. a little bit more. Then, of course, the Dalvin Cook news, if you remember that news that came out a couple of days ago, that he did sign with the Jets. So, a little bit of that too. I know there's just a little bit of the you're not showing much of the rookies. You're kind of showing the more modern, like veteran stuff. Like I said, you saw more Aaron Rodgers this episode. Kind of like an evolution. I guess this is sort of like, I guess the I don't want to say kind of like a redemption tour, if you will, but I guess he wants to kind of show people that, hey, look, I'm not this really horrible guy that you saw in the last few years. Kind of like, as our buddy Christine said, I know who knows if he's getting paid by somebody, or maybe the New York press probably told that be the nice guy or whatever. But I just find it interesting how they're doing this. But he's all a bit of Coach Salah, his family life. He has 7 kids. I don't know how he has the time, but he's got a great support system around him. So I think his parents help his wife out too with the kids, so that helps a lot as well. So yeah, I just say sort of like different dynamic for the second episode of Hard Knocks.
Yeah, I kind of with you and Christine on this one. It's all about a marketing plan for Mr. Rodgers, because he wasn't well happy in Green Bay the last few years. We all know that he could be a cutthroat, condescending guy, but he's really changed all that. Like you said, it's a marketing tool. We'll see what happens if the Jets struggle. Will he be this way, or will he go back into his cave like he did earlier this offseason? So we'll see what happens with that. But I wanted to ask you, Lakina, I think we talked about this before with Hard Knocks. It's been around for about 20 years, a little bit over 20 years now. And I think it's lost its luster. We still watch it every year to see if something is going to be different, something's going to change. And besides the teams and the players, the same storyline remains the same. And me personally, I just don't get it. The best one was the original one with the 2001 Baltimore Ravens, because remember they came off win the Super Bowl the year before. You had a whole mixture of personalities. You had the Ray Lewis situation at the time. Shannon Sharp was still playing. R.I.P. to the late great Tony Siragusa. He had a personality. He had a big, of course, the head coach at the time, Brian Bell, had a personality as well. So, which kind of meshed together both on and off the field. I haven't seen another Hard Knocks series that have come close to that since. That's just me.
I think it's because when it first came on, it was so different. You thought that this is the first time, well, outside NFL films, you saw like these are going to be a little bit more in depth. We're going to see how teams kind of get ready for games and camp, and the rookies, see his stories where guys kind of came out of nowhere and whatnot. I think that's probably why it was because it was so fresh and so new. Nowadays, you got teams social media. All the teams now have social media pages and such. So I think that's probably why you feel like it lost a little bit of its luster the last few years. And I think, the Jets, and we're seeing it now. I mean, the Jets said that you're not going to see a lot of those types of things anymore. So, at least for this season. So, it's going to be just to see, how kind of all that works. But yeah, I think it's still a great, concept. And I think it still sort of shows some of the stuff that goes on. Like I said, they don't go too much in depth, but like I said, I think social media kind of like, sort of, change that format.
I think that's a great point, because remember when Hard Knocks first started back in 2001, the internet was just starting to take off at that time. There was no social media. MySpace wasn't out yet. For those of you our age and older, the MySpace wasn't out. So information was still at a premium. So like you said, you had to go to watch those episodes on TV back in those days. Now, like you said, with social media, you can just put it up via your phone in seconds to watch clips. So like I said, the times have changed, as we talked about, for these last 20 years. Does it still have a place? I think it does, but just like with the sports, nightly sportscast on your local news outlet, Lakina, is it still needed? Absolutely. But if you really want to catch a highlight package or catch a play, you go to your phone or you go to social media via YouTube, Twitter, X, or Instagram. You're not looking to your the sports segment on your 10 o'clock news anymore. Is that still needed? Absolutely. But the competition is social media.
Yeah, I think that's what you're competing against. So yeah, I think you can. Of course, I'm sure teams are still going to limit what they can post, what a team can post on social media and their pages against social media teams. But I think it's definitely going to be one of those things where, yeah, I think there's still a place for a show like Hard Knocks. But I think people need to kind of look at it as more like, okay, of course it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be the in-season team. We saw what happened to Arizona last year. That disaster that was, of course, Kyler Murray tore his ACL, and that was sort of like we saw that. Cliff Kingsbury, who's now with USC, working with Caleb Williams, is a loner. So we really didn't hear too much about that. So it's going to be interesting to see how far NFL teams are going to be. NFL is going to be making their teams do this. So it is what it is.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, the Friday edition right here. We're live in the Color City, Lakina, here with you for the next couple of minutes. Lakina, I know USA Basketball has set up the exhibition schedule. I know they were playing Greece before we started broadcasting live today. If you have watched any of the exhibition games, how impressed are you with the USA men's basketball team thus far?
I've only seen the highlights, but they've actually looked pretty good. I mean, these are not like their top guys. I mean, these are I know Gilbert Arenas, I know he said something about them, earlier that, these are not, LeBron and, KD.
He always has thoughts.
Yeah, so but yeah, I mean, look, we'll see if they can win the FIBA championship. I mean, that's always been. I think it's like been a few years since they've won it. So we'll see if the U.S. does do its thing. So I know that Steve Kerr, of course, he's a new Team USA coach now, but they look pretty good so far. I mean, like I said, I've always seen the highlights. I have not watched any of the games yet, but it's sort of like he is starting to show a little bit more balance. I know that Anthony Edwards had 21 points. And Jalen Brunson, who just got married to his college sweetheart, congrats to him. Brandon Ingram and Jaren Jackson Jr., I should say, all had a good showing there as well. So, like I said, we just see how this goes. I mean, this will not be the team that's going to be going to Paris next summer, folks. I think people need to kind of, you may see like 2 or 3 guys, maybe, but I think people need to kind of slow down on that. But yeah, I mean, they didn't have. I'm talking about the Greek team, didn't have Giannis, so go with that as you will. But they'll face the U.S. again in pool play, I think next week. So we'll see once the FIBA championships start. But yeah, I mean, the U.S. has looked pretty good so far.
Yeah, and you have to give credit to Grant Hill. He's the head of USA Basketball. Of course, like I said, Steve Kerr's the head coach. So for really shaping the roster, making the best roster possible to the available players that want to do this. Of course, All-Star Reese of the Lakers is on there as well. And they still had a pretty good mix. I still expect them to do well, like you said, when pool play begins in about another week and a half or so. We still have a couple minutes left. Lakina, I want to ask you this. Too bad our buddy Christine and her soon-to-be husband, Chris Gilman, is not, unfortunately, they're not on the program today. But I wanted to get Chris's thoughts on this. The PGA Golf Tour is here in Chicago this weekend, Lakina. The BMW Championship in Olympia Fields. Will you be watching? Of course, this weekend's action catch on CBS.
Yeah, this is the second game of the FedEx Cup, so so far so good. I know that Frank Nallo, who is of course a veteran CBS golf analyst, who does the encore stuff, he said that he wants Chicago or the Chicago area to be more of a presence there. And look, it's good to see it. I mean, look, you're going to see. Look, there's a lot of stuff happening here in this week. You got the BMW Championship. You got the Air Water Show. Of course, it's that time of year. It's going to be hot though, folks. So make sure you guys take some beverages with you. Of course, you got Ricky Fowler. Second behind Chris Kerr, got Matt Fitzpatrick, Max Homa, Scotty Scheffler, among others in the top 10. Rory's there as well. He's tied for third. So yeah, it should be interesting. Of course, you got more and more FedEx Cup stuff coming up. This is going to be for big money, about $11 million. So a lot is at stake, and I think this is going to get very interesting. So yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a cut line. So there's only like seven. It's only like the top 70, if I'm not mistaken, or you might be less than that. But yeah, so there's no cut line. It's only the top 50. So this is down to top 50. So there's no cut line. So that's gonna it's all about positioning yourself for the last couple of FedEx Cup events. So it should be a fun event too. You got some of the top names I mentioned, so that should help CBS's ratings a lot. I think this is their last golf event this year. So I'm sure they're gonna want to go out with a bang.
Yeah, especially with football starting up officially in about 3 weeks from now. When I'm talking about the NFL, who is your favorite to win the tournament?
I think the way the course is up, I think Rory he has not won here, which I'm a little shocked by. He has not won here in Olympia Field. So this might like I said, he's tied for third. So this might set up for him. Although I think Ricky Fowler has a lot to play for as well, because Scotty Scheffler too. So yeah, it could be one of those three guys. I think Matt Fitzpatrick, of course, he wants to he had his struggles this year to have to win the Open Championship last year. So I'm thinking that maybe he wants to try to get back in the winner's circle. So yeah, it should be a fun tournament with the BMW Championship.
All right, as I mentioned, you can catch the last couple of rounds of that tournament this weekend, Saturday and Sunday on CBS. Lakina, any last minute thoughts before we close out?
Just so that you got the Women's World Cup concluding this weekend. You got, of course, England and Spain both vie for their first World Cup title. This is the farthest Spain has been, so you got to give them credit for that. England's been close. They won the Euros last year. So, it's going to be interesting to see and the Rays too. I mean, the Rays have not been good since the U.S. has been eliminated. So, but if you guys want to check it out, you can. But just a little something there if you guys are so much of the World Cup the Women's World Cup this weekend. I know it's going to be early in the morning, so you might want to record it. But it should be a fun. I think these two have played pretty well, but I think England will finally get over the hump and win the Women's World Cup this year, which will be the first big soccer tournament since 1966 in the Men's World Cup. That's the last time they won. So this could be big for England should they win, but. It should be a fun match though, nonetheless. But yeah, I'll probably be sleeping when they play.
All right, you heard it here first. Lakina's prediction for the U.S. Women's Soccer World Cup. All right, Miss Queen, closes out.
I wouldn't call myself the queen, but I'm okay with the soccer. I'm okay with the soccer. Like I said, we got the Premier League, and also the Liga, all the other European leagues come out too if you're not into the World Cup, just to say that. But you can follow my Kim McGee on the Twitter, @KimMcGee on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Excuse me. Make sure you download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow on all social media platforms at WARR Media. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Make sure you catch Second City Sports live and live in color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, exclusively on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Catch Second City Sports live and live in color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
All right. And of course, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV. Like I said before, we've been saying it for we've been saying it since the last year or so. You just go on, if you got the Roku TV app or with a stick or through the remote, just go on there, type in Sports Zone Chicago, Roku TV, wherever you get your apps in the App Store, whatever App Store that you got. You can catch our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas, and the What's Up Cuz. I'm sure we're gonna have some great football programming coming up in a few weeks with this season starting. So catch Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere.
Yes, we will provide. And don't forget, next week, folks, we'll start our NFL division previews as we count you down to the start of the 2023 NFL season.
All right, make sure you guys. We not gonna tell you just yet who's gonna be on. You gotta tune in. We might tell you Monday. We might not. Who knows? That's a teaser for you, folks. So enjoy all the events coming up. All the sports. I know it's gonna be hot in a lot of places around the country. So make sure you guys stay cool. I know there's some weird weather happening. Of course, our prayers go out to the folks in Maui. The wildfires there, and I know that there's gonna be some rain coming up for all SoCal folks. So make sure you guys stay dry there as well. Weird weather all over the place. So just be safe, be cool. Send our prayers if you can't help it with the good folks in Maui. And on that note, enjoy all the sports. For Sid, I'm Lakina. This has been Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago, and we'll see you Monday.
Dub Bears, holla!